Have you ever been in a group of people who certain of your characteristics such as your age, your way of thinking, or your being? Well, this is closely related to the generation of age person. Well, I'm not thinking what are you. Um, I think that you're asking yourself what kind of generation you are. Well, maybe you are in Generation Z. This is something simple to discover, actually. I have to admit that I belong to this generation, and I know a lot of people who belong to this generation too, except well, some people who for 1 or 2 years they are of a different kind of generations like others like millennials. Well, they are known as millennials but are also known as Generation J. Today I come to describe and explain what makes a person belong to Generation Z. For better understanding of the people who are for this generation, I have to define their characteristics, their ideology, and what make them different for other generations too. One thing that currently determines the class of generation for to know what generation they are according is the age. The age is very important because for the age, the person is principally determining what generation they are. According to the article that defines characteristics of Generation Z, uh, written by Chris Estrella, explain of those Generation Z are those explain that those people from Generation Z are those people who were born between the middle of the 1990 1990 and the 2010 years. In other words, they want to say that the people who are part of this generation can be between 10 and 25 years. Also, another thing that defines something from Generation Z is that they are native for internet. The same article by Chris Estella explains that they are like they're born in the era with technology and internet are very developed at differences of other years. They are superior in the way that they can interact more with the others and the digital form, having a life basis on this digital world. As I comment on the definition of characteristics of someone for Generation Z, let me tell you how they think that is very different from all generations. One idea that is set for apart from other generations is the fact that they focus on financially. According to the article 10 definition characteristics of Generation Z, explain that the Generation Z takes a time to job or science. They think that financial well-being is very important, a difference of other generations like the past mentioned millennials or Generation J, that they wanted to work in that thing that they wanted, and a difference for the Generation Z work for what they think that they are need, even if it's not that job of the dreams. It's like what I want to say is that money is something important for them, in the way that they see that is something principal in the society. Also, I have to mention before people from Generation Z are natives of technology, they make their work based on it, and it's also that they can be more sociable. According to Drake Clark in the same article, 10 differentiations of characters of generations, he explained that being born into a world with technology already developed, the generation adapt to this and to the part of their life. This also the development of the internet and the social media made them more sociable face to face or online. Although Generation Z has a different idea from other generations, this makes Generation Z have a different perspective from other generations, and there are differences between the other generations. One of the bigger differences between Gen and Z from other generations is that Generation Z is racially and ethically more um, more more diverse than other generations, according to uh, the top of adulthood and facing on uncertain future. What we know about Generation Z so far, written by Kim Parker and Ruth Iglenick Iglenick illustrate that there is much racial and ethical diversity among Generation Z society, thereby having diversity among them. I don't know if I be understand, because I want to explain that they have more diversity than others generations, and they have more ethical ideology and more racial respect between those between the society, actually, different for other generations, where there were a lot of difference between racial and ethical. Also, Generation Z is very different from others generation because they are more independent. In this way, they prefer to do the thing by their own, in the place of other generation that they prefer to collaborate. In Generation Z, they prefer to do this alone by their own, and this also makes them more competitive between them. They actually can work together, but they prefer to do it alone and to do it in their own place. In conclusion, I hope that this speech has been able to help you to understand from Generation Z where made them, what is the characters for them, their ideology, some difference between other generations. We have discussed some aspects that have already described and defined people who are Generation Z and their way of thinking, and how I told you before, what make them different from other generations. This is something important to know and remember, because Generation Z is the next generation to become an adult. In other words, they will be the future of society, and depending on their way they thinking is the way that the perspective of society will change, and we will develop new technologies in base of this. So I hope this helped you out to understand this type of well, it's not a society because it's part of the society, but I hope this helps you to understand more other perspective of other generations. Sorry if I confuse you a little bit.